Infernal Blessings. We are back with another video. Before I begin, a couple quick announcements. If you are interested in signing up for classes, all the classes that I offer are available on the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page, which is located at patreon.com/Beniti, BANITI, patreon.com/Beniti, BANITI. Tier 3 is the tier you want to join. That gives you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon for Patreon members only. Okay. Also, when you do join, just to be clear, it doesn't just give you access to the classes from the day you join moving forward. It gives you access to all of the classes in the archive, which is quite a few. I can tell you it's a large amount of videos. Also, there's a bunch of ongoing series, okay, on various different occult left-hand path topics. We got ongoing classes on ancient Egyptian vampirism, Clepothic sorcery, Luciferian, magic and self-mastery class, which is one of my favorite classes, shadow work class, esoterical occult Bible study class, Sith dark side alchemy and philosophy class, excuse me, Kundalini meditation and awakening class, new series I just added recently, necromancy and dark witchcraft class, so that many more. So there's an extensive amount of content and classes in the archive. Also, it's not just sitting there listening, and it's just a class where you're being just lectured to. There's obviously participation. You could ask questions, and also there's work, exercises, and things to accommodate all the classes. Right? It's not just watch a video and that's it. So there's work, exercises, and material for all the classes, and plus I go in much more in depth, much more detailed in a setting like that. Again, there's things I'll talk about there that I won't talk about pretty much, openly on YouTube, so I can get a little bit more in depth, more in detail. We go a little bit more personalized and discuss topics that I normally wouldn't openly talk about on an open platform like YouTube. So check it out, patreon.com/Beniti, BANITI, tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. That'll give you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon, and also the group ritual we do at the end of the month. If you are interested, you have a couple more days left to sign up for the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, which takes place beginning next Friday, the 19th to the 22nd here in Hollywood, Florida. All right. Friday and Saturday, 9 to 4 p.m. We'll be doing classes, workshops, presentations, ritual work, and then a group ritual later in the evening on both nights, followed by a group dinner, some socializing, hanging out, and having fun. And then on Sunday from noon to 4 p.m., I will be doing a Q&A session to finish the conference out, where we'll have an open question and answer discussion on anything you want to talk about in the occult left-hand path, or whatever transpired over the weekend with the Journey of the Black Adept Conference. You could also attend virtually if you can't make it in person. If you need information on how to sign up and register, shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com, and I will send you information on how to sign up for the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference here in Hollywood, Florida. If you're interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, shoot me an email at that same email address. I will send you information on how to book a reading or a consultation. I offer various different readings: Clepothic demonic readings, Santa Muerte readings, Egyptian oracle readings, deity readings, shadow work readings. Just shoot me an email at that email address, and I'll send you information on how you sign up and register, book a consultation or a reading. All right. Also, check us out on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 9, one word. Check us out on Facebook, Primordial Chaos, 2 words. And keep in mind, all this new content is also being uploaded to the official Primordial Chaos podcast, which can be found on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. All right, the direct link to the podcast, my contact email address, and also the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes, become a member of Tier 3. All of that is in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. All right, you see the title. Is there eternal life after physical death? Okay, this is probably one of the number one reasons why a lot of you have been on your spiritual path, your journey, searching, going back to wherever you started from, whether that was in religion, in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And then you might have moved on to what you thought at the time were more advanced paths of spirituality. Just to give you an example, whether that was, Buddhism, Ifa, whatever you thought, some other higher state of consciousness, Wicca. Some people jumped to that, and we kept searching and searching, right? Because whether it started in religion, going back to your early beginnings, and a lot of us, obviously here who grew up in the West, in America, majority of us came through that religious ideology to some shape, form, or fashion or degree. Now, obviously, it's going to vary from person to person. Some people will say, I wasn't really raised in a religious household. Some will say I was. Some will say I was in an extreme level. But if you live in America, you live in this society, one way or the other, you were influenced by religious indoctrination. And a lot of us who are here today, in the present moment, that's one of the things that have fueled the quest of our journey on our spiritual path to self-mastery. Okay? So the question is, what happens to us when we die? Is there an eternal life after physical death? That's the title. That's the question. That's what this short tutorial video is going to be about. Now, so before I answer this, part of this question I have to answer, obviously, from a subjective perspective, from my own personal experiences. So having said that, I'm not telling you to accept part of my answer to those subjective experiences, right? You're going to have to come to the understanding. This is one of those things on your spiritual journey that you are going to have to come to your personal realization of. These are one of the things I talk about, that not an individual, books, this, that, and the other is not going to be able to answer this question fully for you. I don't give a fuck what anybody claims, says, because all of it comes from something they read somewhere, or it's their opinion. And if they were honest, if they're giving some of that feedback on their personal experiences, then they must be clear in sharing that like I just did. So, having said all that, my answer to that question is most definitely yes. Okay? And I'm going to tell you why. I know there's going to be other people who have difference of opinion on this, perspectives, and that's fine. Again, I can only answer this question on my own personal experience. So you take that for what it is. So it doesn't matter if you agree with me or not, like, love, hate, that's personal shit you're going to have to wrestle with. I say unequivocally yes, because I myself have personally confirmed this, obviously, in my ritual work. If you have done ritual work, especially with, say, the Qliphoth, the void, the abyss, if you have had what they call OBEs, out-of-body experiences, you've traveled through the astral realm, you do know 100% there are spiritual, I'm going to use simplistic terms just so everybody can relate to, there are spiritual realms, whether you would call them astral realms, planes of existence that exist outside of person, place, or thing, where this physical body that you are vibrating in at such a low frequency that takes on the form of a solid, which confines you to what we call the physical plane, right? We know there are higher planes of existence, spiritual abodes that exist outside of here, that you have the ability to travel and tap into while alive in physical human form on the physical plane, but you have the ability to continuously, quote unquote, eternally, to live in those spiritual abodes after you physically transition on. Why am I saying this? Okay, let's talk about that real quick. Well, when we get into the essence of it, right, we all, and now just basic, whether we're dealing with metaphysics, spiritual science, because remember, part of what we do as black adepts, magicians, occultists, we are spiritual scientists. Where it gets a little dicey is when you infuse spirituality with science. There's going to be debates, opinions, perspectives, and that's fine. And I'm not one of those fucking people who, out of ignorance, just write something off as pseudo because it's not in alignment with what I think is 100% fact. And as I said before, things of a spiritual nature, things that you experience spiritually, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to have some source or some book or to make somebody's ego feel comfortable to validate it. So that's been a trendy thing for years now. Oh, because I don't understand it or accept it or want to believe it, this, that, or the other, I'm going to write it off as being pseudo. Well, that's your opinion. To me, I couldn't give two flying shits because, as I said from day one, the only thing you have to prove something to, or who you have to prove something to, of things of this nature is yourself. I'm not worried about what anybody outside of myself thinks. I've confirmed these experiences for myself. It's a reality to me. That's all that matters. Anything else outside of that, you take that for what it is. That's your business. It's not going to change my approach or my perspective. Okay? So, if we are what we call when we talk about spirituality, we hear in a lot of circles, people say we are energy. I don't care if you say we're stardust. I've heard all the crazy shit. But long story short, most people are in agreement. We are beings of light and energy, right? Because they're interconnected, right? When we physically die, right? And this is why you can get clues that allude to this of eternal life if you're reading, say, some of the text of the ancient Egyptians, the coming forth by day, the pyramid text, the Book of Gates. If you're reading the Tibetan Book of the Dead, yes, there are a lot of, spiritual texts that allude that there is, and again, it's just alluding. You take it for what it is. Let's say the opening of the mouth ceremony, the journey through the underworld, in that ritual with Anubis, and how the soul, the weighing of the soul with the feathers of Ma'at, and the soul being guided through the underworld. So there is evidence, text, historical data to show indigenous cultures were definitely tapped into this on a spiritual level. Now that doesn't 100% prove or confirm anything. Your ritual work, your spiritual practices, once you've experienced through that work vibrating outside of a three-dimensional person, place, thing, or existence, you know this abode is when one sheds this physical body, this denseness that alchemy and hermetic philosophy teaches, that one must make themselves less dense to travel the above and the below, right? And you do that through the discipline of your spiritual work. Yes, you do have that ability to do that while alive in physical form, confirms that there is an abode of eternal life. Now, some call it in different paths the abode of the dead. I don't really like that term because I know they call it the abode of the dead, more so somebody transitioning from the physical side going over to quote unquote the spiritual side, but I really call it the abode of the eternal living. I say this all because if we are, as many people agree, beings of energy and light, you can't destroy energy. All you can do is manipulate it. So your physical death and your transition into these spiritual abodes is just another part or another evolution or transitional point of your spiritual journey. Right? Now, I'm not going to get into reincarnation, right? because that's part of cycles, right? Maybe I'll do a separate video on that because I don't want to get distracted from the topic. But this is confirmation to myself and many others who have had these experiences, regardless of anybody's what book is that in, brother? What fact? Where'd you get that? How can you validate that? This, that, and the other. I can't. You're going to have to validate it for yourself. Yes, is it subjective in nature? 100%. Isn't everything you experience subjective in nature? It's your subjective consciousness tapping in. Whether you have a vision or you claim some deity or spirit came and spoke to you, or you had an out-of-body experience, or you were in a transcendental state of meditation, you had a vision, this, that. Isn't all of that subjective in nature? We can classify all of that because, yes, the individual has opened themselves up and tapped into the power of their subjective consciousness, and they've had an experience. It's no different than somebody who says they were abducted by aliens or they've been on a UFO. We look at them like they're crazy. Now, I'm not saying all of them are telling the truth and all of it is valid, but I do to a lot of those people who are 100% sure and confirm and in their mind are certain that something happened to them. I do believe they tapped into something subjectively. Yes, we can't validate it because we didn't have that same experience. I get all that. But just because you don't understand it or you didn't have that experience doesn't necessarily make it not true. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some batshit crazy ass motherfuckers out there. So I'm not saying there's not bullshit out there, but it's easy to sniff through the bullshit, right? It's real easy. You can just tell the genuineness or the bullshitness of it. Real simple. It's real simple to sniff out the bullshit. Okay? But if we are beings of light and energy, energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be manipulated, transformed, and changed. This is why I've been telling the religious people for years. That's why you can't destroy the devil or who they call the devil. And it's energy because bottom line is, does the God of the Bible need the devil more than the devil needs God? Think about that for a minute. Okay? Think about that for a quick minute. Okay? It's energy. Okay? We always use this, I'm working with a certain energy. I'm tapping into certain, aren't all the gods and goddesses energy? We like to throw that word around so, loosely, but do we really understand what we're saying? So again, the way you're going to be able to confirm this, you could read all the books you want. You could read all the ancient texts you want. You can listen to all the lecturers and teachers you want, giving their opinion, sharing their experiences like I'm doing now, because that's all I can do with a question like this. Okay? You're going to have to come to that self-realization of this, and then that's when it's going to become real to you. The bottom line is this: if anybody was honest with you, really honest, and that's why I try to be straight up, nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen to them at that moment of their transition. I know people would like to believe that, well, it says in the coming forth by the, I know religion programmed us with this a long time ago that, we're gonna be in line in heaven, and there's the pearly gates, and St. Peter's gonna be there, and we're gonna get judged, and there's really nice Hollywood fictitious movie fairy tale story, and there's gonna be a long ass line in heaven because with all the sects of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, I don't know which one is the right one, because there's going to be a line of Pentecostals, Seventh-day Adventists, Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, Episcopalians. These are all man-made religions started by physical human beings of their interpretation of what the truth is. It's going to be a long ass. So I'm just I'm trying to figure out how that shit's all going to work out. But that's a whole nother story. But my whole point is, that is obviously complete stupidity, fictitious mythology, because none of that stuff can be validated or proven there. The reality is nobody knows exactly what happens, because look, all this confusion and madness could be squashed if one of these three major religions, their God sent them back and said, you know what, this is what happened, this is the afterlife. Islam or Christianity or Judaism, any of this path, that's the right path we're supposed to follow. because all of them just have a fragment, small speck of the truth. That's the reality, people. That's the reality. So anybody who claims they know exactly what's going to happen to you at the moment of death, you possibly couldn't. Okay? So this is why one of the important things you're supposed to be working on and focusing on as you are on this path, or if you claim to be on this path, this is why working with the void, the abyss, the Klipop, and a lot of work we do answers these questions. Because you must overcome this culture of fear in reference to death that they have instilled upon us, because they use it to keep their recruitment levels in their religions of programming and fear alive. Now we see, obviously, over the last 20 years or so, 15, 20 years, there's been a decline in a lot of these religions. A lot of people, I'm not saying they're necessarily becoming left-hand path occult practitioners, but a lot of people are waking the fuck up, right? They know, obviously, they're seeing and filtering through the bullshit and saying there's a bigger picture out here. It's definitely not what they were telling us from day one, okay? I mean, think about how kindergarten, childlike level it is. Think about it. They want you to believe you were born into original sin, right? Which what would be the purpose of a God creating just corrupt people from jump? If you understand the concept of original sin, it makes no fucking sense. And then they lie to you and tell you got free will, right? And it's not free, because then they'll tell you got free will, but then they'll come around the flip side and say, but if you don't follow all the rules and regulations, you're going to be cursed eternally and damned and go to this place called hell and be tortured by this demon called the devil with a pitchfork on that's on the hot sauce bottle and all that other spooky ass shit. And then they say, and they lay down the groundwork. You got to follow all the rules. Follow all the rules and regulations. Do what you're told. And if you do everything you're told, you're going to go to this place called heaven. Well, what then? Look, heaven and hell is what you make it. It's a state of mind. You could be in the wrong place at the wrong time. That could be your hell at that moment. Because you can get robbed, shot, killed, or something can happen to you. That could be your form of hell. Same thing with heaven. Heaven's a state of mind too. I might do some further videos on this. We'll elaborate on that more as I get to the end of this one. I want to stay focused on the topic. Okay? So, the answer to that question, 100% unequivocally, in my experience, is yes. Okay? Again, you don't have to agree with that. I am not telling you to accept it. I am telling you to draw your conclusions. And you can be somebody who says, no, 100% I disagree with that. That's fine. And that could be your experience. But you also have to understand somebody who might have a perspective in opposition to that. You can't just write it off. Just like I wouldn't write somebody else. Say, well, I don't accept that. I don't believe that. I don't think it's 100% true. And I'll say, okay, well, you're entitled to that. And that could be just because you haven't come to the realization of that through your experience and your work. And that's fine. 100% fine. Because this is not a path of what we're enforced and told that we should accept and what we should not accept. Right? That decision is left up to us. Okay? So, is there eternal life after physical death? Yes. It could be another cycle, another transitioning into another manifestation of another existence that we call reincarnation, which that's a separate video. Something different to talk about at another time. But I'm going to say, yeah, the answer to the question is yes. Okay? But you do your soul searching to get a better understanding of that. You get clarity on that through your work. So again, I'm not telling you to accept it because I say so, you need to get that understanding. And again, I want to go back to something I said in the very beginning of the video. There are certain questions, and this is one of them. When you hear me say off and on over the years, not somebody, whether it's a person or a book, is not going to be able to answer every single question for you. Especially things of this type of nature. Because this is going to always be open for dialogue and debate. Okay? It's always going to be open for dialogue and debate. Okay? So, I don't care if you've read 15 books on this subject. I don't care if you've sat in 10, 15, 20 classes on this subject. It's still not going to be a reality to you until you confirm it for yourself. It's that simple. Okay? So hopefully this tutorial helped. I'm try to shoot another video a little bit as I get to my 9 rounds destination. Maybe I'll shoot one, go into my next spot. But other than that, if you need to reach out to me, the email address is khnum19@gmail.com. That's the email you want to hit up if you want to book a spiritual reading or a spiritual consultation. Also, don't forget to check us out on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 9, Facebook, Primordial Chaos, 2 words. The podcast, the Primordial Chaos podcast, which can be found on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. The direct link to the podcast, my contact email address, the direct link to the Patreon page of Primordial Chaos to sign up for classes. All of that is available in the description box of the video that you are watching right now. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. I'll talk to you guys soon. Infernal blessings. I'm out of here.